With the world being slowed down economically and some of the biggest industries being hit hard, thus limiting resources and opportunities for us to advance and grow as ambitious vets, it's still not an excuse to sit on the couch and wait for things to change. Are you ready to hear a message from a retired first sergeant who has been there and knows what it's like to have to reinvent yourself time after time to stay relevant within the marketplace and still produce value? Well, that's you. Stay tuned as you're going to get what you need to go to the next level.
Even though in the military, I spent, 14 years at a senior level, or at least reaching the pinnacle of a senior level, driving production for what would be equivalent to a Fortune 500, if not a Fortune 1000 type company, it didn't translate out here to the civilian world. I had to come out here and reprove myself, almost prove my worth to an extent, and show that, number one, I have the chops to do this. Two, I am smart enough and I have the intellect enough to be able to grasp it, run with it, and be able to provide results that's going to, achieve or exceed the bottom line for the business.
Today's show is brought to you by Combat Flip-Flops. Not only are they creating jobs, they're funding women's education, and they're also creating change in some of the toughest places on the planet. If you haven't already, check out their footwear, their apparel, and their gear now by going to combatflipflops.com. Ambitious Vet, if you're there and you find something that you like the good old Glories, which is my favorite flip-flop that they just recently rolled out, that funds one day of school for an Afghan girl, made in Bogota, Colombia, and carries lifetime warranty. Make sure that you input AMV Network at checkout. Use that coupon code and get a 25% off discount on us so your shoes serve a purpose. Welcome to the Ambitious Vet Podcast, where we believe that if you desire more than you have in any area of life, you have to become more in the process. My name is Chris Hoffman, Marine Corps combat veteran, turned social entrepreneur, family man, and personal and professional development leader. On this show, I dive into the trenches with big thinking and conscious veterans who know what it takes to not only pay the bills after the military, but really live with a sense of purpose, satisfaction, and career fulfillment we all desire most after financial stability is no longer a challenge to overcome. If you haven't already, Ambitious Vet, grab that pen and paper. It's time to gain the golden grenades needed to break through your fear barriers and live a life of purpose with passion.
It's time to get into the trenches, dig into your purpose, and fire up your life's fulfillment. The Ambitious Vet Podcast starts now.
What's going on, Ambitious Vet? Welcome right back inside the trenches, where we're interviewing some of the top military leaders that have proven to get out and make a bigger impact than just finding that financial stability. I'm excited to bring the Golden Grenades to help you break through to new levels in your career, life, and business. Today, we're going to have Darryl Williams. He's an Army retired first sergeant who served 10 years. He served anywhere from director of operations to director of training and management, and did some recruiting operations. It did some really awesome stuff to just forward the direction of the U.S. Army in that 10-year time period. He got out in 2017, jumped right into an impactful role. In fact, specifically a director of sales role for Victory, which assists companies, institutions, and organizations in connecting opportunities to a niche military community through a variety of solutions. They also assist in expanding brands, creating a digital presence, and driving a direct response to acquisition funnels. I'm excited to unpackage all of this with Darryl. Darryl, are you there, man?
I am, Chris. I am. Thanks for inviting me on the show. I'm absolutely ecstatic to be here and share my story, and hopefully others will be able to relate and find some value.
I think so, man. I mean, when we were talking on the pre-interview, man, there was this golden grenade after golden grenade. And there's so much I want to talk about in this 30, 45 minutes that we have with you, man. But I think where I want to start off with this whole thing is, what I picked up on is you spent 10 years in the U.S. Army. climbed all the way up to that first sergeant rank, which was when I was in the Marine Corps. I was like, man, that diamond looks so good. That was a rank that I think anybody in the military wants to get to, and you hit it. And, but you did a fantastic job as far as translating your skills and networking into a very high level, impactful role, which I think a lot of ambitious vets that specifically maybe someone that's listening to it right now, that may be furloughed, may get a lot from, your wisdom here, because let's face it, the longer you stay in the military, right, the harder it is to translate your skills, right? So what would be one thing that you could tell an ambitious vet that's maybe furloughed or just someone that's out in the trenches looking to find a more challenging career? What would be one thing you would tell that ambitious vet to do?
Yeah, absolutely, Chris. And, if I had to pick one word specifically, it would be persistence. I go back to, and I actually joined in 1997. And when I came in straight out of high school, so it's not like I went to college first. I came out of Central Pennsylvania. Literally, I think there was 200 kids in my graduating class, and it was right across from a cornfield.
Wow.
So at that particular time, 18-year-old Darryl wanted nothing but, a career in law enforcement. So when I joined the Army and got pretty lucky because I got to go straight into being a military policeman. After about 7 years, I figured, hey, that wasn't for me anymore. And, I started to look out further along, beyond the horizon and understand that there's life after the military. And, if I wanted to make money, which there's a large majority of us that are in it to make money, financial stability, in order to reach, some pinnacle point, I knew that it wasn't in law enforcement. That was me. So at that particular time in 2004 is when I actually volunteered for recruiting. Not too many folks do that because recruiting is it's a very tough job, man. Very tough job. And that persistence actually started then, because it took me about 12 months in recruiting. And I said, hey, look, it isn't so much that I want to stay in recruiting, but I really want to pursue business. So for the next 14 years, I spent this time in recruiting command, working 6 days a week, sometimes, 12 to 15-hour days, and truly driving production. Now, when you go to translate and transition out of the service and you try to figure out where did you draw these parallels? And when you take a look at me, it might look like, hey, he transitioned very well and it was very easy and it just ran parallel. But I'll be honest with you, it doesn't. It doesn't. And I had even after 20 years and 14 years in recruiting command, a bachelor's degree in business, a master's degree in business, a certification in Six Sigma, I was having a tough time finding where I fit in this civilian world. And what it really took me in, this is probably, we're probably going to sum up some of your questions here in this very first segment.
That's right.
Is humility, brother. I had to be humble enough to understand that even though in the military I spent 14 years at a senior level, or at least reaching the pinnacle of a senior level, driving production for what would be equivalent to a Fortune 500, if not a Fortune 1000 type company, it didn't translate out here to the civilian world. I had to come out here and reprove myself, almost prove my worth to an extent, and show that, number one, I have the chops to do this. Two, I am smart enough and I have the intellect enough to be able to grasp it, run with it, and be able to provide results that's going to, achieve or exceed the bottom line for the business.
Yeah.
That was a lot.
Yeah. I mean, and there's so much with that, right? Because you were working 6 days a week as a military recruiter, which most military recruiters that I know, there's a hard quota to hit, right? And that's a lot of work in itself, right? But not only were you working 6 days a week doing that, but you're finding ways to gain the credentials along the way to help build your economical value, right? And even though you had the credentials, even though that you had, the experience as far as leading and directing teams, it sounds like to me that there was just like this sense of like, well, I haven't made it yet, right? And I find this stigma, and I can include myself when I got out in 2012 from the Marine Corps, and I only did 4 years, right? But didn't come close to the 10-year mark. But I mean, I got out with a little chip on my shoulder, and I had to put myself in positions to really humble myself. And it sounds like you did the same thing. So I would tee this back to you. When you got out, what were some of the key landmines that you hit that had you get into that position on like, hey, I haven't made it. I got to prove myself now. What were some of those landmines?
Well, I think when you show up here and, our organization's about 40 to 45% veterans who can relate. But now you're embedded, and we'll use some military terms here, you're embedded in a formation now that's also made up of civilians that they've cut their teeth for the last 10, 15 years in the civilian sector. And here comes this guy that, just because he's a veteran, now he's in this direct role. Oh, by the way, he's leading me. Well, what makes him so much better than me? I've been out here, in the marketing world, in the advertising world for so long. What can he teach me? And, really for me, it was understanding that as a leader, it's not so much what I can teach you, but it's also what you can teach me. And it's having that humility and understanding that, communication flows both ways. And as much as I want to be the teacher, I also need to be the student in a lot of ways. And, I think that's what really helped me excel. And then also understanding that the learning process never stops. As I stated a few minutes ago, I achieved everything that I wanted to achieve, from an educational perspective while I served. And, thank goodness for the U.S. military for paying for my bachelor's degree and paying for my master's degree. But here we sit today, and not to tell my age, it's soon to be 42, but I'm back enrolled into another master's program. And it's not because that, I like to just, torture myself and I don't have anything to do. It's because the job still isn't done. And, and for me to be able to challenge myself, and I make a healthy salary, I'd like to say it's pretty competitive. I'm in a leadership role in a growing organization, but for me personally, the job isn't done. And I want to be challenged in other facets as well to make sure that at soon to be 42 years old, that I stay competitive in a marketplace that's ever changing, that's getting younger day by day.
That's so good. That's that first sergeant perspective right there. I love it, Darryl.
Appreciate it, brother. Appreciate it.
What master's degree are you going after right now?
So I am putting myself back through school to get another master's in marketing, but now specifically on the digital side of marketing. The last time I got my MBA in marketing in 2013, the digital side wasn't as prevalent. Well, look at where we are today. Ads, marketing is very digital focused. So for me to be able to remain competitive and I guess you could say almost forever young, let me go ahead and bring myself up to speed on what all these young bucks know, so that way we can talk shop together.
Yeah, no, I love that high speed energy, man. And I picked up on that whenever we were doing, our video pre-interview, right? It was just, whenever someone talks to you, it's like they got to get more high speed. And I think that a lot of veterans, maybe you that's listening to this ambitious vet, you may feel like you have to slow down. Right. But like Darryl's a prime example that you can get in and you actually can pull other people up around you. Right. So he's done a really good job in doing that, being humble, but always figuring out what are his gaps and figuring out where the job is not done yet. Figure out where you can do that in your life, career, and business. And I promise you'll start finding ways to build your economical value, ambitious vet. So Darryl, man, I know that we're diving into the next topic that I know I wanted to dive in with you. But I mean, you've kind of already unpackaged it a little bit, but let me ask you a question in a different way, brother. So pretty much, for me, I got out in 2012. Most of the listeners already know that's no special story. But I got out as a corporal, right? I got out with a lot of us get out with a little bit of pride and stuff like that. But I also was overthinking the process, right? When I got out, I felt like I had to do the transition right. I felt like I had to have the first right job. I felt like I had to have my resume perfect and all this kind of stuff, right? So what are you finding in the talent acquisition industry right now as far as, just being able to help veterans give up that sense of entitlement? Like from what you guys are picking up on in the advertising and marketing space of helping military and mil spouses find more opportunity?
Well, yeah, absolutely. And great question, Chris. When I came out in 2017, there was another colleague of mine who was already employed with Victory and prior service Marine, and he got out in 2006. So not only was he battle tested in the Marine Corps with multiple tours overseas, but now this guy had been battle tested in the civilian sector for the last, 11 years. And you can imagine as a first sergeant, as an E8 coming into the civilian sector, and you've been wearing that diamond for the last 4 years, and used to folks standing up for you, and you're used to folks standing at parade rest, and you're used to being 30 minutes early, and you're used to staying late. And Greg looked at me and he said, "Brother," he said, "nobody cares." And that was tough for me because, my self-worth and self-value almost depleted. But I looked down at, at my chest on the left side, and it doesn't say U.S. Army anymore. And you know what? He was absolutely correct. So for me, the very first thing I had to do is I had to embrace the fact that everybody appreciated my service. They appreciated everything that we've done. But when it comes to business, there's no place on the field for it. And, my service is not going to impact the bottom line. My character, my experience, my education, my integrity, my moral compass is going to help impact the bottom line. But unfortunately, my 20 years of service is not. So I need to check it at the door because you know what? I'm starting over. This is going back through basic training again. They're about to break me off, and I just need to embrace it, understand it, and strap in for the ride. Now, what I can tell you is, what we've seen with everything going on, the veterans and military spouse space, look, if you thought it was a competitive job market before, we are at the crux of the ultimate competitive job market now. Wow. And, if we think it's tough now at a 13% unemployment rate, when we're on the backside of this, vaccine in hand, the hiring surges are starting to happen, it's going to be even more competitive. With an unemployment rate of 13%, employers right now don't have a problem of getting applications. They have a problem of weeding out the right people to talk to.
Wow.
And yeah. When I was transitioning out, I was not very familiar with how applicant tracking systems worked. To be honest with you, I don't think I really modified my resume too much to fit keywords because you just don't know. And when you're going through the transition assistance class, you know what? It's a 5-day course, man. You got me for 20 years, and you are spending 5 days to reclimatize me back to the civilian sector. It's not enough. So you just don't know. But if you're not familiar with how the computer-generated systems work to filter you out, because I'm going to tell you, once you apply, 9 times out of 10, a human is never going to really look at your resume if it doesn't make it through the system. Educate yourself. Educate yourself on how the systems work, how to pick out keywords, and then the things that you need to do during this time where, it's a 13% unemployment. If you have post 9/11 GI Bill benefits, put yourself back through school, utilize your benefits. let them pay you to go to school, get the education, certifications, on-job training, what have you. Get it now. That way you can prepare yourself for when it comes time and the hiring surges are there, you're at the top of the batting order and you're not down batting 8th or 9th on the list. Put yourself up in the cleanup spot and make yourself competitive. Yeah.
No, I love that. And you've proven, you've been there, you paid that path, and even if you're getting out as a first sergeant, you still gotta pay the dues and get the education, learn, and gain the credentials that you need, because they do see that first. That's kind of like a gatekeeper type screening process, don't you think? Like, you've got to have those credentials for the role, because like you said, there's an ever evolving industry, right? And this whole digital marketing thing, if you don't know how to personally brand yourself on a LinkedIn page or, Facebook or something like that too. I mean, we've had conversations inside the show that say that LinkedIn is the new resume. What are your thoughts?
No doubt. This is definitely a game of chess, not checkers. And, everything is done, through strategy. Whether, you can imagine, teeing the ball up first is going to be actually filling out the application, but then be able to network on the backside with the right points of contact through LinkedIn, through having, 3 years ago, nobody really understood about what it was to create your own individualized brand. And now you are a walking billboard. Now, what you have to imagine is taking that walking billboard and putting it on a social media platform to be able to illustrate exactly who you are as a person. And, a lot of folks don't understand that, but that is your billboard. And I tell you, even at Victory, if an application comes in, we don't have an applicant tracking system. We're a small veteran-owned business. So we do get to see everything that comes in, but I can tell you profoundly that if I get, an application for an account manager, the very first thing I go to is your LinkedIn.
Yeah.
No doubt about it.
Yep.
And if you have a background in advertising and you can't fill out a LinkedIn properly to brand yourself, I'll be honest with you, I'm really not interested. So, create the billboard. Create the billboard.
So if we don't do the work, right? Because I love this philosophy that's been consistent throughout this whole conversation, Darryl. And it's around just being persistent, do the work, but also be humble, always realizing the job isn't getting done, which this is like perfect for this audience that you're speaking to. But what do you think it exposes when we don't do the work and actually create a powerful LinkedIn page to a potential institution or a company that we want to potentially, be involved in?
Sure, absolutely. I think it's saying two messages, and they're both going to be polar opposite. Number one, it's sending the message that I'm too good for this. I don't need to do it. My military experience is outweighing where it's actually outweighing what my true value is. And I think I'm bigger than what I actually am. Now, the polar opposite of that, complacency, is a weakness. And if I feel as if I don't need to do this because it's not going to help me get the job, then you're truly not understanding what the marketplace is really like. And the other thing there too that we have to realize,
that's good.
People who want to compete at that particular level, professionals, have a LinkedIn. I'm telling you, they have a LinkedIn. And the reason is because they have embraced where we are in this social media world. And if I don't do it, it's either I'm complacent or I don't know how to. And if I don't know how to, now I'm showing my age. I hate to put it like that, but I'm showing my age.
Yeah.
And like I said before, if I'm 42 years old now, retired out here in the civilian market, there's a lot of mid to senior level executives out there that are probably between that 30 to 35-year-old mark. So now I'm showing my age. I'm showing that I have, complacency or a lack of intellect or want to in order to be able to do it. So it's definitely a weakness.
Yeah, there's a lot in that. I mean, what I'm hearing is if you've had the experience, you have to know the keywords, the jargon, the buzzwords of that industry, right? And if you don't have that terminology inside of the experience part of the LinkedIn, one, you're not even going to be found as far as potential recruiting agencies or something like that, right? But like also it's going to show your weakness and understanding the industry that you're potentially trying to grow in. Is that semi-correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Once again, didn't know this 3 years ago, but understanding the algorithms of how platforms like LinkedIn work, when recruiters are going out to source for folks on LinkedIn, they're utilizing keywords that are embedded inside your profile. So for instance, if I'm looking for a job in recruiting operations, and that's really where I want to be, and there's an employer out there that's looking for somebody in an operations role, I want to make sure that I have terminology within that operations realm that fits. Now, if there's a specific industry I want to be in, then I definitely want to have that baked into my profile as well. It's almost like a reverse ATS. I'm applying for a job and the applicant tracking system's weeding me out. On the flip side, I'm taking a proactive approach on my LinkedIn profile so recruiters can find me.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's brilliant. I mean, I think it comes down to, like you're saying, you just got to do the work and realize the job's never done. And even over here, Ambitious Vet, I'm thinking about my own LinkedIn profile, getting insecure. I'm like, man, I need to realize that my LinkedIn personal page, the job ain't done. That's awesome, brother. I love that. So we'll be right back with Darryl Williams, Ambitious Vet, right after this 10-second break. Big thanks to Original Grain Watches, a veteran co-founded company that's best known for their craftsmanship that goes into each design and the stories that come with each individual timepiece. The coolest thing about them, Ambitious Vet, is that no two timepieces are the same. But don't take my word for it. Go check out all the variety of unique timepieces made from raw, repurposed material at originalgrain.com. Ambitious Vet, if you find anything that you like that would make you feel more original or maybe even a little bit more bold as you go out there and create more opportunity after all this COVID shit passes, enter in AMV Network 10 to take advantage of a 10% discount on us. Now back to the show. All right, Ambitious Vet, we're inside the trenches with Darryl Williams, retired First Sergeant of the United States Army, and transition as far as a Director of Sales of Victory, which does a variety of different things, which I'm excited to dive into here in a little bit. But we were just talking about how it's impacting veterans and mil spouses in the marketplace today, as far as entitlement, not doing the work digitally to create the opportunities or the increased cash income or career prestige. But I want to kind of shift gears now to more B2B, institutions, companies, stuff like that, Darryl. What are you seeing in the marketplace? Because right now we have, companies that are trying to fight this, what Department of Labor revealed last month, that over 1 million veterans in the United States alone applied for employment benefits, right? So this is kind of crazy. So I want to hear what you're seeing that companies, institutions are trying to do through, like, for example, Victory or whatever, to get ahead of this curve. What are you seeing?
Well, two ends of the spectrum. Number one, I can give you some industries that have been hit hard, and probably ones to stay away from. Definitely the hospitality industry has been hit hard. If you've been tracking, like the likes of Hilton, they're letting folks go, laying them off. Travel, airline industries have been hit hard. Cruise lines have been devastated. Those are definitely areas that I would probably stay away from. As far as areas of opportunity, the tech space is hot. The tech space is hot because you have the ability to work from home, 100% remote, fully employed, and still get the job done. If you're taking a look, the likes of Facebook, Microsoft, IBM, large majority of the tech companies have moved to 100% remote throughout the remainder of 2020. And this is going to forever probably change the landscape for a lot of industries, because remote work is going to be highly embraced going forward. Construction is, still on the rise. If you're following the real estate industry, they are expecting, for home building to rise over the next 5 years. I would definitely take a look at the construction industry. Cleared professionals. If you're sitting out there with a security clearance, secret level, top secret level, you're in high demand. Take a look at some government contractors that are out there. Cybersecurity, definitely on the rise as well. Government law enforcement, Victory. We're making some waves with the way that we are changing the way that we connect opportunities to the military community. One of those is through some of the partnerships that we currently have right now. One of them is the FBI. So the FBI, and today, I'm very proud to sit here and say that we brought in the Secret Service as well. So government law enforcement is huge in the space right now. Like I said, back in 97 when I came in, man, that's exactly what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Here I sit 23 years later, things have changed, but government law enforcement. And then finally, which doesn't have to do with employment as far as going out and hunting for it. And, Chris, you and I talked about this during the pre-interview, and that's franchise ownership.
Yeah.
Many of us in the veteran space, you want to talk about a challenge. We all have been challenged throughout our military careers. We've been challenged out here in the civilian sector. Man, there is no bigger challenge than being able to lead your own business. And I can tell you that the reason that franchising amongst the veteran community and mil-spouse community is on the rise is because, unlike going out and just starting my own business, if I opt into a franchise model, it's something that we're familiar with because it's structured. They have all the tools. It's a proven business model. Yeah. All I got to do is I have to find the right franchise that, one, I'm passionate about, two, that I have the financial capital at least to be able to get in the door, and then three, what model best fits who I am as a leader. We partner with some franchises at Victory to have their opportunities get in front of the military community. I've got one particular, actually I got a few. I got a few franchise partners right now. J-Dog Brands is one of them. I don't know if you're familiar with J-Dog, the Jerry Flanagan story. Jerry has a great story that started back in 2015, and now where he sits today is over 200 franchises nationally. Through very different business models. G-Force is another one that deals with, more on the service industry, parking lot striping. But this is one that's 100% veteran only, which is amazing.
Yeah.
And he has grown. Just in the last 12 months, they've grown, 14, 15 franchises. So check out the franchise space. Find something perhaps that's going to fit for you, rather than we all are followers in some form or fashion. Yeah. But, I know what it's like to check in at 8 and check out at 5. I'd like to also do it for myself. But, you can have an impact on your business and be able to lead others, and that's something that we're all very familiar with.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And yeah, you guys hit all spectrums, right? Talent acquisition, recruiting for institutions, educational, institutions, companies that want to recruit military, and also ambitious vet. They even help potential tee up some buyers for franchisors. So if you are that ambitious vet that's just like, hey, now's the time. There's a lot of money to find in the SBA loan, and I'm sure there's all kinds of other funding that you could find, and just be like, you know what? Let's get into a recession-proof business like J-Dog. Removal, right? And where they have the SOPs completely mapped out for you to where all you got to do is plug in your determination, your persistence, your teamwork, everything that you're already equipped with. And it sounds like Victory can help you out, right, Darryl?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Perfect. So tell us more about Victory, man, because I was reading a white paper called How Social Recruiting is Changing the Corporate Landscape white paper, which educated me on a lot of stuff. And you guys are constantly pushing the curve, and you're really innovating the military veteran and mil spouse space as far as how recruiting is done. So tell me more about Victory and what makes you guys innovative.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Chris, at our core, we're basically two main brands, which is GI Jobs and Military Spouse. GI Jobs been around since 2001, right before 9/11, as a matter of fact. And Military Spouse was born in 2004. And, if you've been in the space for quite some time, like I have, prior to 2004, Military Spouses really didn't have a voice in the military community. The brand Military Spouse, provided that to them. Where we are being innovative is, we are understanding that in order to be able to connect with a closed network audience like the military community, it is more than just through your traditional advertising forms, which, for years has been through print publications. Now we still have a print publication, GI Jobs and on the Military Spouse side. But we're understanding that the marketing media mix is, it's print and it's also in digital form. Now, what we're able to do, and, prior to coming out here, I never clicked on ads before because I didn't want no virus. I didn't want nobody to follow me. I have no idea.
Right.
But really all it is, brother, is taking an ad from an advertiser, plugging in some targeting demographics that they are looking for because they want a certain individual, and then delivering that ad to the right person at the right time so that you do click on it, so that you do come over and learn more about that institution or that organization. And if you are a right fit, then by God, we do want you to apply because we want you as a part of this organization. Now, what's funny about it is, when you're in the military transitioning out, or, you've been out for quite some time, you don't quite understand how all of this works. So when you see these ads and you're on Facebook and you get an ad from GI Jobs or from Military Spouse, or you're on ESPN and you see the FBI is hiring, you tend to not click on them and we just pass by. But knowing what I know now is institutions and organizations are investing operational dollars in those ads to attract you. Because they want us, because they understand the experience, the leadership capabilities, all the value that we can bring to impact the organization so that they can move their companies forward and impact the bottom line. Yeah. So don't be afraid to click on those ads. Now, as far as innovation, man, we can do some crazy stuff. I can say some fancy buzzwords like demand side platform and that type stuff. And look, I can tell you that we can geofence military installations, and if you come inside the military installation and you go down to your mobile device, you're going to get hit with an ad, and then 30 days later, for the next 30 days, you're going to get hit with the same ad. Listen, some people look at it as stalkerish and, intrusive, but when you're on this side, what it is presenting the absolute best opportunities of companies and institutions that want the finest talent that this country has to offer. And all we're trying to do is connect the dots.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And I love how, from what I picked up on the website, the white paper and stuff like that, I just love how it's very, you keep veterans and mil spouses within an orb, right? You keep them incubated, right? For potential institutions, companies, franchisors, and stuff like that, to where, you're constantly providing content and messaging that's speaking to them at every stage, right? Because the messaging that gets me my first job when I got out of the Marine Corps isn't the same message that I'm going to need once the 43% stat hits, right? Whenever we're getting underpaid, we're underemployed, we're not feeling harsh enough, right? I'm going to want some more tougher messaging. I realized resume writing, interview prep was, okay, but now I need to hear new messaging. And I love how you guys have hit down on that. And you have a really good battle tested, data driven approach too, man. You guys are doing some really good stuff. Anything you want to add to that?
No, I think you just hit the nail on the head there as well. And this probably lies more to pre-COVID, but I'm sure there's still some folks out there. Passive job seekers. So we've all been there, sitting in a job, don't like it, not challenged, I'm underpaid, underemployed, what have you, and I'm on my lunch break. I go to Facebook because I want to check out what's going on in the world, and man, I get hit with an ad from a major company that's looking for somebody of my skill set.
Right.
And I click on that ad, and I want to learn more, and you know what? The stars align, and they call me for an interview. That's exactly how it works from a passive job seeker perspective. As long as we, as a population, as an audience, the military community, does not get complacent in where we sit and understand that we all have a much bigger purpose than where we sit today, present day, you will continue to strive for more. And when those opportunities, such as these ads that you run across, these opportunities present themselves, take it, embrace it, and run with it. And let's see what happens on the backside.
Yeah. No, I love that, man, because I used to be one of those. I'm from the Midwest. I'm from St. Louis originally. I don't know if I ever told you this, but I used to see that as like, oh man, it's the world tracking everything, right? And, really as I grow and I realize how digital marketing and the world's evolving, to your point, even being a 31-year-old, I'm realizing that if a messaging hits me in the heart and it like moves me, I'm like, wow, that just hit me. That's probably a stage of life where I need to kind of pursue that, because that's something that I'm valuing in that moment. It's very emotional, but I mean, any ad that I see that really hits my emotions in that moment, I'm like, okay, yeah, that's something I need to be pursuing, something like that, because it's where I'm getting stopped, I'm feeling frustrated or something like that. So Ambitious Vet, if you are seeing ads out there, if you're someone, that's working from home, that you're just like, man, I'm not feeling career fulfilled. Next time you see an ad, click on it, right? If it hits you in your triggers, right? Your feelers, hit it, hit on it, see what the rest of where it takes you, as Darryl would say. And I really like how he put that. You may like where it leads you. So trust the process, as we talk about a lot on the show. So Ambitious Vet, we're going to go ahead and take our last 10-second break before we go ahead and bring Darryl back for the 3 golden grenades that you're going to need to break through the next levels of success in your career, life, and business. We'll be right back. Thanks to Brute Force Sandbags, I have learned that all weight is not created equal. Training with sandbags is easy to learn, challenges the whole body, and is the most versatile and functional fitness tool since rocks for cavemen. Fact is, Ambitious Vet, life is not lived in a perfect posture with total balance and stability. The problem is traditional functional fitness training methods fail to prepare you for these challenges. From getting in and out of your car to training for triathlons or fighting fires, Brute Force Sandbags and their unstable workload has you covered. The shifting load of your sandbag forces you to engage your body's stabilizer muscles, building coordinated strength and balance throughout your whole body. If anything, avoid that COVID-19 body everyone's talking about right now. Anyways, Ambitious Vet, Brute Force Sandbags focuses on the gear, the training, and the lifestyle you need to train accordingly. Check out their latest selection by clicking the link in the show note below. All right, Ambitious Vet, we're right back into the trenches with Darryl Williams. I'm excited to wrap this whole thing up. There's been tons of golden grenades this entire interview around just doing the work, not getting complacent, and just really getting that first sergeant perspective and challenge. Darryl, I knew we were going to get this first sergeant challenging message, but man, I got to tell you, man, you've definitely over-delivered. It's been absolutely amazing experience. So the last thing we have here is a tradition, right? I want you to bring in 3 golden grenades or wisdom bombs that could hit an Ambitious Vet that's been out for at least 3 years now. They may or may not have financial stability, especially during these COVID-19 times, but they're always looking for that next challenge. They're looking for that next level of fulfillment in life. What would be 3 wisdom bombs you could drop in here to wrap this whole thing up?
Absolutely, Chris. So, hey, the first one is, discover your purpose. If you think you've discovered it for the day, it's probably not your purpose for tomorrow. So continue to evolve, as a person, as a character. Discover what you should be doing tomorrow. Just don't settle. Secondly, as I said, you've heard me say it multiple times, complacency is a weakness. You can ask some of the most financial, stabilized individuals out there that just stopped excelling, stopped accelerating, thought that they were good, and then ultimately maybe they went bankrupt, maybe they lost their job, maybe they lost their home. So don't ever get complacent. The world is changing, the world will move, and the world will move without you. So don't get complacent. And then finally, look, those first two points are kind of wrapped up here in this third one. Fundamentally, it's just not who we are. When you take a look, less than 1% of the population volunteers to serve in any of the armed forces. So every single one of us has stood up, raised our right hand, went to basic training or to boot camp, went and served. Some of us served, overseas combat tours in Iraq, Afghanistan, in hostile environments, put our lives on the line for this country. Why settle now? Because you never settled during your career. So fundamentally, it's just not who we are. So look, if you're sitting there and you're on your couch listening, it's time to get up off the couch. It's time to get up off the couch. It's time to do something to change tomorrow and not settle for where we are today.
That's huge. Ambitious Vet, I hope you just utilize one of those golden grenades tomorrow or next week. And I promise you're going to start building that compound effect interest in your life, and you're going to be consistently growing. No wiser words have been said than a first sergeant of the Army right now, giving you that get off the couch message. I love it. So Darryl, man, where can we go find out more about you? Maybe there's an ambitious vet that's just like, hey, yeah, I want to figure out more about how to navigate the job market today. Or maybe there's a company that's just like, yeah, I want to recruit more military or mil spouse right now. I see the opportunity. Or maybe there's a franchisor or potential franchisee that's just like, hey, yeah, I want to plug into a proven system, plug my character traits into a proven system so I don't ever have to worry about furloughed again. Where can they find out more information on you?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Chris. So we got some great things going on here. So one, if you can head over to gijobs.com, you'll see three segments up in the top in the toolbar: employment, education, and entrepreneurship. If you're wanting to learn about any one of those three, you can go down, you can find sponsored employers, you can find sponsored schools, you can find franchises that are wanting veterans. Remember what I said earlier, operational dollars are spent to become a sponsored any one of those. So they're looking for folks just like you. Secondly, our job board is changing. So if you go to hotjobs.gijobs.com, you're going to find a job board that is very interactive. It is very different than what you see on Indeed or on Monster. I don't know. People tell me it's very Tinder-like. So it's built off of a Tinder swipe left, swipe right, put in your cart, apply later type deal. It's great on a mobile device.
Nice.
And then secondly, be on the lookout. We talked about us being innovative. So what you're going to see over the next month, maybe 2 months, is you perhaps could run into a GI Jobs community. So this community is being built so that we as an audience, not just veterans, but also military spouses, can come together and collaborate in a very fresh, bold, and engaging way so that we as an audience can become better every single day. We're looking forward to getting that up off the ground. It's coming. It's coming. Just, buckle up.
Wow. I'm excited about that. Ambitious Vet, I hope you are. Darryl, man, just thanks for spending, this time with us. I mean, I think everyone needed the first sergeant push. And you brought it. You brought the heat, brother. Thank you for what you're doing with Victory. Thanks for continuing to serve. And more importantly, just thank you for always looking to improve yourself on a daily life and paving the way. Thanks for joining the show.
Appreciate it, Chris. Thanks for having me, man.
The Ambitious Vet is available on all popular podcast platforms. Go to vettrainingcoaching.com to subscribe, rate, and share with fellow vets.
Again, today's show is brought to you by Combat Flip Flops. Ambitious Vet, if you are ready to have a flip flop that feels like a victory cigar for your soul, go check out combatflipflops.com. If you find anything that you love, make sure to enter in AMV Network to take advantage of a 25% discount.